If you're an MSP that's under $1 million and treating your business as a lifestyle business like I have been, and using your business as a personal checking account, be smarter than me. Get serious faster than it took me, and surround yourself with successful people. It took my business 8 years to make our first $1 million. Then we were kind of stuck at about $300,000 in revenue for another 8 years. My goal was to double the revenue of my business in the 2 years that I joined, and that's what happened.
What was it? What did Dave have to say? What was the key?
Well, he said,
you're listening to the MSP Success My First Million podcast. I'm your host, Rob Patterson, and today we have an exciting guest ready to share their journey to their first million. Jason Brooks is the president of Beanstalk Computing, a successful MSP based in San Diego, California. Great to have you on the show, Jason.
Great to be here, Rob.
Excellent. Let's just jump in to get things kicked off. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your origin story? Like, what got you into this MSP world?
Well, I've always been interested in computers. If we go way into the Wayback Machine, it all started when I was a kid. And my dad, in the 80s, I came home from school one day and there was a Commodore 64 sitting on my desk in my room. I didn't ask for it. I didn't even really know what computers were, but that's when I got it. I fell in love with computers at that moment. And I started tinkering with computers. I would help pull the joysticks apart and fix the joysticks for friends and families that had problems with their computers. And I started tinkering more and more with the hardware. And that led me to have a real keen interest in computers. My origin started with hardware. I loved hardware. I built computers myself. I would build all these custom computers, whether it was a water-cooled rig that was like a pyramid-shaped computer with all sorts of lights and interesting components in it, to various other types of systems as well. And then that kind of led along to when I was in college, I got a job part-time at a computer repair shop. And I would be building computers. And mind you, this was back in like the late 90s. So we're talking like 386 and 486 computers, running Windows 98. Yeah, we're back in the day. And I remember one of my colleagues looked at me and he would say, Data from Star Trek? He's an android, and he can, sometimes his hands move so quickly that they just look like a warp screen of your hands. One of my colleagues said he thought I looked like Data because I would just push down like 3 or 4 computers in a row and just be building them. And he'd be like, wow, all of a sudden they're all built out, because we built custom computers for clients there. Then
the Prince of the Pentium.
Yeah. Then after college, where I went to UC Santa Barbara, which, they say you can't study buzzed is the acronym there. Quite a party school, but I made it out alive with a degree in probability and statistics.
Wow.
And moved up to the Bay Area, San Francisco, in the year 2000. And it was there that I got, right out of college, my first job at an MSP, although we didn't really have the term MSP then. It was an IT service company. Yeah. And I immediately started working in the industry in the year 2000. Had a great time up there. Unfortunately, a few years after I moved up there, there was the .bomb, meaning all these new, websites and technology companies were just going out of business. And it was at that point that I got laid off, and everyone I knew got laid off. And instead of just staying in San Francisco, paying high rents and being stressed about not having enough money, I put all my stuff into storage, and I went ahead and traveled through Europe, through South America, through Southeast Asia. Wow. Backpacked around for like 6 months while I was backpacking around, I was looking for a job. I was I was on unemployment, and one of the questions was, are you currently looking for a job, when you filled out the form every week? Well, I did, in fact, go to every week and go onto Craigslist, which was the hottest thing at the time.
Yeah.
Went to a internet cafe because, I didn't have a laptop at that point to carry around with me. So go to internet cafe and look on Craigslist, apply for a few jobs. There was nothing on the unemployment form that said, are you traveling outside of the country right now, or anything like that, right? So I was in compliance with getting my unemployment. And finally, I made my way back to America and moved down to San Diego and started a business down here called Beanstalk Computing back in 2006. And I've got a story about how my business started too.
Well, let's hear it. So what kicked it off? See, I mean, I'm just struck with, like, I'm in my early 50s. I mean, when you're describing this stuff, it's like, it makes me feel it's also old timey. It's like your internet cafe, your 486 processor, and like, I don't know. I suppose there's a good percentage of the listeners on this that kind of lived through some of that arc too. So I think that's good context. And then, so you kind of traveled and you came back. You were in compliance, just for the record, with the unemployment laws. Got it. Check. And then how did you say, all right, well, now I've sprouted, pun intended, this entrepreneurial spirit, and I want to start my own business. So it's kind of a different avenue, really, to go down.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was back in 2006, and I was still in my 20s. I never imagined I would be ready to start a business in my 20s, but it kind of just happened. So I decided to start my own business, IT business. I had always known this was what I wanted to do, but again, I didn't really think I would be ready for it until I was in my 30s at the time. So with great trepidation, I headed over to the downtown San Diego courthouse building. Emerging an hour later, I clutched the golden ticket to entrepreneurship, my freshly minted fictitious business license, inscribed with the title Beanstalk Computing, as you can see on my shirt here. With the adrenaline surging through me, I embarked on the very first step of my exciting adventures. So then, walking down just a few hundred yards from the courthouse, I answered a phone call. And on the other line was my friend Dave, unwittingly holding the key that would unlock my destiny.
Your destiny. Come on. What was it? What did Dave have to say? What was the key?
Well, he said, "Hey, Jason, I was calling to find out if you happen to know of any IT companies," said Dave. And I'm like, "You got to be kidding. I literally just started my IT business 5 minutes ago. I am your man." And just like that, in the blink of an eye, I not only birthed a business, but landed my first client. And excitement pulsed through me as I stepped into a world of possibility with a client in tow, ready to conquer the IT landscape. Note that I did so that story, I have used AI to create images and posted that on our website as a story you can read with like a graphic novel style story.
That's cool. You want to shout out that URL?
The website is beanstalkcomputing.com. And from there, if you go to the resources tab and then short stories, you can find that and other short stories I've written.
Yeah, I think to kind of, maybe this is going to veer off a little bit, but I think when we have talked before through the Technology Marketing Toolkit, the Producers Club and all that. It's where we first started talking, but I saw some of that material you put together. I remember we were on an onboarding call and you said, "Hey, can I just take a minute to tell you a story?" And I was like, "Yeah." And most of the time when people say that, they're remembering some story, and you were like, boom. And it was the picture book with the graphics and the story. And I was like, this is slick. Like, so you guys, the listeners, you might want to go check that out just for some inspiration and ideas. Not only is it good storytelling, it kind of actually does create a literal like origin story but he's weaving in AI in there too. So I think that's an interesting angle to check out. So you launched it, you birthed the business, you had your first customer. I'm going to fast forward you now quite a bit to where we're looking at here. So in this podcast, we're talking to people who either hit their first million in top line revenue or their first million in EBITDA or net profit. And so you have, and I want to congratulate you on this. Last year, it looks like you crossed that $1 million mark. So congratulations on that. And I'm curious now, a couple of things. Like, first of all, could you kind of take us through sort of your recent revenue growth or that kind of number journey of where you've been over the last few years to get to that $1 million?
Yeah. Well, in a nutshell, speaking of $1 million, it took my business 8 years to make our first $1 million.
Okay.
And then we were kind of stuck at about $300,000 in revenue for another 8 years. And then what I did was a couple of years ago, I joined the Technology Marketing Toolkit program. And when I joined, I was 2 years ago, I was at $500,000 in revenue. And then through everything I've learned in the program, my goal was to double the revenue of my business in the 2 years that I joined. And that's what happened. So last year we hit that $1 million in revenue of the business. And we've seen such amazing growth since we've really changed it's really about a mindset change, right? In the beginning, I was thinking of it as a lifestyle business. Okay. What does that mean? That means I'm just cruising along. I'm happy with where I'm at. I've got enough money to do what I want to do. And basically I've hired myself. I don't have to work for anyone else anymore. I hated working for other people. And what else do I need? I'm in my 20s. I'm in my early 30s. I'm able to do what I want and don't have to work for someone else. Then a couple years ago is when I really got serious. And that's when I shifted my mindset from a lifestyle business to a business that actually is a real business, is one that can grow, is one that has a plan and goals and it has a team and has a future, right? So, and that mindset change came with surrounding myself with like-minded people and joining the Technology Marketing Toolkit program. Waking me up. It was like a wake-up call. Hello. It's like someone's shaking me. Robin Robbins is shaking me. Wake up. Do something.
Well, it's interesting you say that because, I come from a background where I've been in technology for a number of years, and then I worked for an MSP as director of sales and marketing for a decade, and I've been surrounded by different communities, different peer groups, and that experience. And I mean, there definitely is a dividing line, or maybe, like as you say, a wake-up call. Or some people never actually hear the call, and some people don't want to hear the call, of where I think a lot of people started for the very reason you said, that I don't want to have a boss. I want this independence. And unfortunately, a lot of people get to an age where they've kind of got themselves into just giving themselves a job and not a scalable business, and they're looking at it at a point, whatever that age is, they're later in life, and they realize, I don't really have something I could sell now. I mean, it provided me what I needed, but I didn't build this in a scalable way. So I think that's a really important takeaway. Wherever you're involved in, whatever communities or whatever you're thinking about, like, really that mind shift is significant. So, like, what are some things that, once that clicked in your head that you had to do this, what were some things that came along with that, like to change it from a lifestyle business to something that's real and scalable?
Well, before we get into that, I do have another story for you, another graphic novel that's on my website. That's entitled Technology Marketing Toolkit, Changing My Perspective. This is the origin story of how I got involved in the Technology Marketing Toolkit. Imagine a moment frozen in time where years of contemplation and uncertainty culminate in a life-altering encounter. I, Jason Brooks, founder of Beanstalk Computing, stand before you today, ready to share the remarkable story of how the Robin Robbins Technology Marketing Toolkit transformed not only my business, but also my entire perspective on marketing. For more than 15 years, the idea of joining the toolkit had lingered in the depths of my mind. The testimonials and success stories I'd heard over the years fueled my curiosity, whispering promises of growth and prosperity. Yet hesitation held me back. Doubts crept in, and I wondered if it was all just an illusion, a mirage in the vast desert of marketing possibilities. But destiny works in mysterious ways. It was during a potential client meeting that the winds of change blew into my life. As I presented my services, I encountered a moment of brutal honesty. The client, whose previous job happened to be the office manager of a similar MSP to mine, delivered a jarring blow. They confessed that they would not hire me because my marketing material looked like shit. With renewed determination, I made the resolute decision to join the Robin Robbins Technology Marketing Toolkit. It was a leap of faith, but I was certain that it would be the key to unlocking Beanstalk Computing's true potential. This moment marked the beginning of a transformative chapter where I embraced new possibilities and stepped outside my comfort zone. So, fasten your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen, and get ready to join us on a transformative marketing journey. With the TMT program on our side, we aim to achieve our ambitious goal of growing Beanstalk Computing to a $20 million enterprise.
All right, so now I have to dig into that a little bit. So you're saying that you were thinking about joining that program for a number of years, and the thing that made you join was a prospect meeting, which should have had nothing to do with IT marketing at all. But that person you were interfacing with had seen the marketing before and called you out on it. That's an interesting light bulb moment. I don't know if you could chart that on a sales path for TMT, but I guess the top of mind awareness and being out there in the world certainly had an impact on that. So that's really great. And then you get into the community, you get that mind shift going on that you were talking about, that you want to build this scalable business. And like, what does that mean? I mean, so for the listener, if you're out there right now and they're working and they're like, okay, yeah, I'm that person who's I built a job for myself and I'm pretty happy with this because I'm paying my bills and I'm not working for somebody else. But they get this lingering thought in the back of their mind, like, okay, what am I going to ultimately do? Can I cash out on this at some point in time? What are one or two or three things that you would say once you had that shift are things you realized you had to put into place?
Well, that's a great question. Actually, MSP Success Magazine wrote an article about some of the things I've been doing about a year ago. And it was titled, Getting Serious About Marketing Takes Beanstalk Computing from Autopilot to Turbocharged. And the article was written based on some of the things that I wrote when I went through what's called Rapid Implementation Workshop. This is what I went through when I joined Technology Marketing Toolkit. And it's like drinking through a fire hose. You go in and they're teaching you everything you need to know about marketing and growing your business. And it's intense and you learn a lot. And I actually was one of the winners of the Rapid Implementation essay contest that they had. And an article was written about that and some of the things I had been doing during that time. So I'll just give you some examples of things that
highlight a couple of them for the people listening.
One thing is I did not have a CRM. I had some contacts in Outlook. I had some contacts in other systems, and there was no way for me to track and do any kind of marketing towards those contacts and leads that I had all over the place. So the first thing I did was actually put a CRM in place and have a system that I can track the leads and automate the marketing to them. The automation was a real key feature for me. That it would, the system, the CRM would automatically send out letters and emails and follow-ups to potential leads, taking a lot of that, taking the bulk of what I needed to do off my plate so that I can focus on the follow-up calls and actually sales meetings instead of the the little nitty-gritty aspects of marketing automation that helps me out there.
Well, that's a good one for sure. So yeah, I think all of us have been through that phase of where we have, lists that you get from sponsoring an event. It's on an Excel sheet here or some other spreadsheet here. You go to an event, you enter something over here in this other silo. So, and there's definitely no automation around that. So that was definitely key. Anything else that you would, say to people out there, you absolutely have to kind of nail down?
Another thing that we launched was a referral program. We call it our 550 referral club. And so when you have a referral program like this and you promote it to the employees of your clients, you develop a little army of people looking for new leads to provide you. And so what we've developed is what we call our 550 referral club. And the way that works is if you send a lead to us and we sit down with that customer and just talk with them, that's a $50 gift card that we send to you. If they then become a client, then a $500 gift card is sent to either you or a charity of your choice. So that's the 550 club. And we promote that we have little business cards that look like credit cards that we printed out, that we hand out to our clients and the employees of our clients, or we have technology business reviews with our clients, or anywhere that we meet people that might be a good referral partner. We also do referral campaigns where we might give away a television or an iPod for a quarterly inside of a quarterly referral contest that we might do. So we help promote those types of referrals coming in by giving people incentive to give referrals in many different ways. Referrals have been and always will be a great source of leads, but you have to have more than referrals, right? There's no way to quantify referrals and when they come in. You're at the mercy of the client giving you that referral on their term. You have to have developed a marketing system that brings leads to you in a quantitative and automatic way on top of referrals and other things you're doing already.
Yeah, so I like that. So you get the CRM in place. You have that kind of referral campaign, or actually, it also seems like almost like a culture of referrals. Like it sounds like you're going to infuse that everywhere. You have one more tip or one more thing that helped once you shifted your mindset?
I have a couple more things. The first one would be running direct mail marketing campaigns, and building lists of clients or that you look at that you might want to work with. The first step is building that list, going out and deciding what's my target market, what's my ideal client, and who do I want to focus on targeting and developing our services so that they can be offered our services. Once you develop that list, then we start a direct mail marketing campaign. And at first, when I was told about direct mail marketing campaigns, I'm like, wow, that's old school. Like, isn't everyone using technology and electronics and computers and email now? Well, that's what I originally thought, but this stuff actually works. Having someone get something in the mail, and it's not just a piece of mail, it's a a large red envelope letter, for example, or a piece of lumpy mail, there's something inside it, like a gift that we're giving them, they're going to take the time and open that up and look at it. And it's not just spam in an email account that they can delete. It's an actual physical, piece of mail that they're gonna get curious about. And it's important then, once they get that, follow up. We're following up in a series of 3 phone calls and 3 emails with them at timed intervals, so that we make sure that we're having multiple points of contact. And we'll continue that every 3 to 6 months. They'll be part of a new campaign, and sometimes we'll call them again in a few months later, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you sent me that other that letter a few months ago. That was really clever. I like that. That was great marketing." And so having multiple points of contact and continuing to market towards them, because they say, what do they say, Rob? Something about it takes a certain amount of contact points before they start thinking about you more effectively, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Multiple touches and timing. I mean, I think that sending out those letters, I mean, there'll be some percentage of people who, that holy grail where somebody like that very day they got mad at their IT company and your letter comes in the door and they're like, oh, kind of like your friend calling you that day. But a lot of it's for that top of mind awareness, that interesting lumpy mail sits around on their desk or the thing that was contained in there. And for sure, I think in general in marketing, we tend to feel like, especially, I don't know, as IT people, that we don't want to bother people or be too in their faces. But I mean, a lot of what goes out, they're not paying the same kind of attention to, for sure, as we are putting it out there. So that consistent touch is super important, as you found.
It sure is. And I've got one final thing I want to let you talk about on the same subject, and that is being generous in general with our customers and our employees and our clients and vendors and everyone that we work with. We've developed what we call our serendipitous gift for our customers. So I don't like giving gifts during the holidays, during Christmas and New Year's, because you're already overwhelmed by all the boxes of chocolates and other various gifts that you're getting during that time. We want to differentiate when we're giving a gift. And we've decided that the gifts we give are going to be based in, let's say, if we talk about our clients, based on how long they've worked with us. So at 6 months, at a year, at 3 years, at 5 years, at 10 years, we make sure to set up some kind of either a gift or some kind of entertainment or celebration with our client. We may take them out for a happy hour. We may bring in lunch and have a lunchtime celebration. We may let's see. Another thing we do is, if it's for a shorter time, at 6 months, what we typically do is we order these cupcakes from Sprinkles, and we customize each cupcake with one cupcake has their logo printed on it. It's like a sugar wafer that you can print on the cupcake.
Okay.
And then the next cupcake has our logo on it, and it just goes back and forth between their logo and our logo, right? So that's signifying the partnership that we've grown with together, and just the thanks that we have to being a partner with them. We think of ourselves as a partner, right? We're not just there to fix their computers. We're there to help them grow their business with our help, with the use of technology.
So you would say that gratitude is a key component of your mindset and the way you run your business?
Yeah, gratitude has been a huge part of how we run the business now. And it wasn't always that way. When you're first starting up and you're struggling and you're not at a point where you're comfortable giving, because you're just trying to survive, because you live paycheck to paycheck or just client pay to client pay, it's harder to think like that. But as you grow and you have you have the funds, you have the mindset, you're not just in this like rat race of trying to stay alive. That's when we changed our mindset to generosity, to providing something extra on top of just the standard quo.
Yeah, I think that's great. So what would you say your greatest success has been so far?
Last year, I was diagnosed with a form of cancer called multiple myeloma. It's a cancer of the blood. And one of the things I'm doing right now is creating an emergency exit plan. Not that I'll need it, but it's good to have it so that if things don't go well with my treatments, my business has a plan to sell and get my family in a state to continue with their lives.
Yeah, that's massive. I'm sure that created some kind of mind shift as well.
Yeah, I can tell you this. I'm very lucky that they found my cancer very early, and within 1 month, I went into remission. So it was a very quick turnaround there, and I continue to be in remission. I plan on being around for a while, but that was a wake-up call to be like, okay, let's kick this into high gear. Let's grow this business, and let's have a plan in place to sell. And I brought on a business partner, and for a couple of reasons. One is if I'm no longer around, he can continue running the business. And two, I've been running this business on my own for 15 years.
Yeah.
And having a business partner has been the best decision I've made, because it's hard to do everything on your own, trying to make all these decisions and wearing all these hats. Having someone on your team by your side that has your same mindset, that is there to kick ideas back and forth with and brainstorm with. For example, every Friday we have a powwow, and it's about business development. And we talk about our business growth and operational strategy, business strategy, financial strategies. And having someone else to communicate and brainstorm with is been a massive improvement to our growth strategy here.
Well, let me ask you. That's an interesting one. So you already had a successful business that you've been in for a number of years, and you wanted that kind of collaborative and multiplying effect. I'm sure that you considered just filling that position as opposed to bringing on a partner. What are some factors that you considered there? And I'm curious why you ended up on the road of a partner as opposed to an employee.
That's a great question. It took a long time and a lot of thought process and a lot of discussion to decide, is this going to be better as a partnership or as an employee? What ultimately helped me make the decision that I wanted to bring on a partner was I wanted to have the mindset. It's all about mindset, and having my business partner have skin in the game.
Okay.
And be part of having that skin in the game and being in a position where they are also at risk of the company not succeeding, but also being there and joining in the success when the company does succeed has allowed me and my business partner to really focus and be working as hard as we can on the next phase of growing this business. If it was just an employee, they would do what they needed to do, right? Most employees just get done what is the minimum required of that job. And I didn't want that. I wanted someone that had the mindset in place to help grow the business and have skin in the game so that we can work on the growth together.
Now, now that you've experienced this, is this something that you feel like you would have done sooner, in hindsight, or was this the appropriate time, you think?
I think it was the perfect time with where the business is at now. I had grown the business on my own, and I wanted to get it to $1 million in revenue before making any kind of bigger decisions like this. And but I can tell you this: one thing I would have done differently is join Technology Marketing Toolkit much earlier in my business growth phase, because I was always thinking of it as a lifestyle business, and if someone had woken me up a little earlier to growing this business in the correct way, things might be my business might be 5 times bigger right now, 10 times bigger right now. But I'm in it now, and we're moving forward. So let's keep on rocking.
Yeah, you got to keep on rocking in the free world. One thing I wanted to ask you about here, I mean, you brought up TMT at this point. Like, again, I know what my takeaways were from being part of that community on the kind of the member side. What I'd like to hear you comment on is, so there's strategy, there's rapid implementation, there's tons of content, but what impact, if any, has the community itself had on your experience?
Well, being the community of the Technology Marketing Toolkit that's what it's all about. I mean, I am constantly learning from others in the community and sharing my knowledge with them, and brainstorming with all the other. There's so many successful people that have been running MSPs in the community that have all this knowledge, and they're so willing to share that information with others, that it's incredible to be part of that community. Let me tell you a little bit actually about my journey through the program.
Okay.
In November of 2022, I joined what's called Accelerators Club, and in 2022 I joined Accelerators Club. Rob, can you give us an understanding of what that means?
Yeah, I mean, at TMT, there's several tiers of programs we offer. From kind of there's a toolkit on the first level where you kind of can get the fundamentals. It's self-serve. You sort of kick the tires of the program. That's actually where it all began over 20 years ago. And then there's the next tier up is MSP Launch Academy. These are for businesses that are have 3 to 5 managed service customers. They really still need to get their kind of fundamental set of their pricing and packaging. And we start to teach them about the basics of sales and marketing, but make sure those fundamentals are strong. And then Accelerators Club is actually all about acceleration, and we have rapid implementation in there, and we're trying to really take the business then and say, let's implement these marketing oil wells and show you how to actually expand the business. And then our top tier program is Producers Club, where we're looking at bringing more members of your whole team into the community. They have their own peer groups and their own associations within there. And at that level, we're looking to show you how to scale the business, scale to grow and sell. So accelerators, you'd be coming in maybe just, over $500,000, somewhere in that range. And you want to sort of pour the fuel on the fire. And that's the intention, is to get you in and really show you what to do with that.
Exactly. Yeah. So in November of 22, I joined Accelerators Club, and I was just under $500,000 in revenue at that point. And I wasn't sure that I would be ready for Accelerators Club, but I just jumped right into it. And it was like a part-time job, just ingesting all that information at first. And it was really, really exciting growth and learning during that time. And that's when I went to the rapid implementation workshop, and that's when I really learned all these new things that I learned about marketing and business development. In Q1, that's when I won the Rapid Implementation Workshop Award, and I was brought up on stage and given an award. That was in Q1 of 24. Going up on stage and getting an award, I love how that's done, because that gave me some empowerment and some, like, I've succeeded in some way, and I'm up on stage in front of all these people, and it's just felt amazing to be recognized for that. And then I continued on, and in July of 24 is when I won what's called the Flaming Grenade Award. Rob, can you tell us what that means?
Yeah, I mean, the brief description of that is at those Producers Club meetings that we have, we give out a Flaming Grenade Award. There's a whole origin story behind it, but the main thrust of it is we try to highlight someone in the community who has really persevered, really pushed forward. In many cases, they've had to overcome some kind of obstacle. In many cases, they've had to overcome some kind of obstacle. It could be personally, professionally, but the kind of foundation of the essence of it is that they've experienced like this great growth or a breakthrough moment or a breakthrough period, no matter what's in their way. And you definitely were the appropriate person and to receive that award. So I think you're saying, so you got up there, like, how does that impact you?
Well, it was at that same meeting. I actually went up on stage 3 times, and I remember when I went up on stage for the Flaming Grenade, which was when I talked about my cancer diagnosis, along with the business growth that happened at the same time. And after I got the award, I got a standing ovation from hundreds of people that were there in the crowd, and there were tears being shed and excitement, and that was just such a powerful moment for me to be up on stage and having the emotional support and of the Technology Marketing Toolkit and of the members of it, and the recognition there was just it was just breathtaking. It was really a life-changing experience being there.
Wow.
For me, and on top of that, I went up on stage a couple other times at that same meeting. One was because I had just earned my $1 Million Earners pin. So in TMT, in the Technology Marketing Toolkit, any member who can rightfully attest to the fact that they have generated at least $1 million in revenue by utilizing campaigns, strategies, and tools from their participation in the program, then they get to earn the right to be in the $1 Million Earners Club. And so I went up on stage because of that as well. And then the third time I went up on stage was because I had just upgraded my membership and been invited to being in Producers Club. And so that was quite a journey. That was an amazing trip for me there.
Well, I mean, I think the thing about how you have worked the system, worked the programs, is I think that I know that in TMT we are very forward with the idea that this isn't an easy button, that you have to put in the work. As you said, when you were drinking from that fire hose, it was like a part-time job. It's like, these are systems you have to get in place, process you have to get in place, the mindset shift. There's work to do here. And I mean, you did the work, and you did the work even while you had this whole other, challenging period going on in your life. But you are getting the results, which is fantastic to see. I think, I guess that leads me to a question of, how did you do that? Because I will talk to a number of members who, struggle to put in the work or have the time to put in the work, and they're like, well, I'm only a one-man show, or I've only got a couple of people on my team, or and you're certainly were in that case. How are you able to dedicate that time to implementing all of this?
That's a great question. When I first joined the program, I didn't have the team that I have now. Having a team behind you that can assist with all parts of your business, and so you have the time to focus on marketing and strategy development, has been what I've been focusing on the last few years. In some cases, that team is outsourced. In some cases, that team is in-house.
Yeah.
And in our case, we've chosen to do a combination of the two. So, for example, we outsource our level 1 help desk. We have a great team that we outsource our help desk, our level 1 help desk service to. So that frees up our internal staff to focus on level 2 and 3 type tickets, the higher end tickets that engineering needs to be, the engineering time needs to be put into that. That's on the technical side. Yeah. On the marketing side, we've actually outsourced as well part of that solution to a great team that does all the follow-up calls and the direct mail marketing, because that's outsourced with the team that provides results for us, we can then just focus on the sale that comes with the appointment that's made by that team. And so we're in the stage of our journey that we're at. Outsourcing makes sense. It may not make sense for the stage your company's in. It may make better sense to keep that in-house. But for us, I've read the book. I don't know if you've ever heard of the book. There's a book by Tim Ferriss called Total Workday Control. And he talks about pretty much outsourcing your life is kind of the goal of the book, is the mindset of the book. And because of that, I outsource quite a bit of different aspects of our business. For not only what I discussed earlier, but we have an outsourced fractional CFO. We have an outsourced bookkeeping company. We have our CPA. We have different aspects of our business that we outsource to professionals that supplement our internal staff, and has helped us grow from this one-man band mindset to enterprise level mindset. But even though we're not ready to bring all those people in-house yet, we have the power of those different teams behind our back here.
So that makes me wonder, there's this kind of saying sometimes about outsourcing, or I'm completely making this up, I'm not sure which one, but to outsource but not abdicate. So just like as an example with, say, the outsourced callers, because I know this is kind of a hot topic that goes back and forth. If you're going to outsource that function, have you completely put that in their hands, or there's still some management over that, or oversight, or how do you kind of make sure you're getting that kind of same quality as if it was in-house?
It's a great question. We actually have outsourced to several different companies in the past.
Yeah.
And there's different ways of looking at this. The first companies we worked with that we outsourced to, they had their own list of leads that they would call. They had their own CRM. They had their own systems, and everything was in their hands. And we came to realize that once we stopped working with them, none of that data was ours. Yeah. And we had no access to it. The way we work with our outsourced team now is they work in our CRM. They work with the contacts that we provide. They put notes into our systems. This is our data, This is our system that we've given them access to. We are protecting our own data and keeping that data within our own systems, so that if we no longer work with them and we bring it in-house at some point, or we work with someone else, we have all the notes, we have all the data, we have all the context already in our system. It's very important that we feel that it's very important that you keep that in your own system if you're going to outsource, so that data is yours and always will be yours.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And do you have any layer of management there? Do you listen to any of the calls, or do you have, or just an interface with some manager there that you in terms of the quality of the output?
Definitely. You definitely want to be involved in reviewing that having regular meetings with your outsourced calling service company. We meet with them on a weekly basis, and during that call, we listen to some of the calls, and we provide feedback on what went right, what went wrong, how can we improve this, improve the sales calls that you're doing. And we're looking at various aspects every week of what happened, and kind of acting as that intermediary manager, so that they're not just doing things on their own without us really looking at things with them on a regular basis, so that things stay focused into what we want to accomplish.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense. So you kind of have that blended balance of it's outsourced, but in your systems, and you're working with them to help manage that whole relationship. So what are your long-term goals, Jason? What do you and how do you plan to achieve them? That's an easy question. What are your massive goals, and how are you going to get there?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this, my big, hairy, audacious goal is in 10 years to grow the business to a $10 million MSP business.
All right.
At that point, we're going to have, we should have about 5,000 managed endpoints. And when we get there, that's when we decide, we're at a point where we can decide, are we going to sell the business? Are we going to merge? Are we going to buy? What is the next phase of this business? But the ultimate goal, the big, hairy, audacious goal is get the business to $10 million in revenue, and then prepare to sell in 10 years. To how do I get there? Well, we have a series of mini goals we want to accomplish on the way. For example, when I joined the Technology Marketing Toolkit, I had $2 million goals that I wanted to hit in 2 years. Now, the first was to double the revenue of the business from $500,000 to $1 million in revenue, which we completed recently. And the second goal was to join the $1 Million Earners Club, which we talked about earlier. Yep. And I met both those goals ahead of schedule, and joined Producers Club recently because of that. So on that same lines, we want to continue in that same aspect. So our next goal is to double the business again from $1 to $2 million in the next 24 months. And also join the $5 million Earners Club in the next 24 months as well. And that means we've added $5 million in business to, and with the $1 Million Earners Club, for example, you're not just bringing in how much business you have now, but the total lifespan of the contract. So if you bring on a $5,000 per month customer, and it's a 36-month contract, you total that all up and include that in your goal to join the $5 million Earners Club. And I'm already close to $2 million on my way there.
That's great.
And then I continue on with these little goals. Next year, our goal is in $1.5 million. 2 years later, in 26, $2 million. And up from there, 27, $2.5 million, 2030, we want to be at $5 million, and 2034 at $10 million in revenue. And what you want to do, what we've decided is to get to the ultimate goal, you have these mini goals along the way.
Yes.
And each mini goal has its own set of goals and plans on how to get there.
Yeah, I think the goal setting is clearly very important. It's probably another whole podcast on goal setting. I know one of our great coaches here and mentors, Paul Sissel. I remember him challenging someone on, a number that they floated out there that was like, oh, we're going to add, we're going to grow like 80% or something. And he's like, is that aspiration or hallucination? Because, just kind of throwing a number somewhere isn't exactly setting a goal, but it sounds like you have, a well thought out plan of how you're going to get there. And of course, wish you, great luck and success on that. So just kind of in wrap up here, do you have any final thoughts you want to share with the listeners?
I do. Yeah. So if you're an MSP that's under $1 million and treating your business as a lifestyle business like I have been, and using your business as a personal checking account, be smarter than me, get serious faster than it took me, and surround yourself with successful people. I joined Producers Club at the $1 million as a $1 million business, but my direct peers in my accountability groups are mostly $4 and $5 million companies. I made the conscious effort to surround myself with successful people. Confucius, I believe, once said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Or in other words, always be the dumbest person in the room.
I feel like I accomplished that all the time.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. Are there any other key or pivotal decisions you've made that you think really made an impact on your journey?
Yeah, one of the most important things I feel like I've done recently is bringing on a fractional CFO. And the reason that was so important is because we had our bookkeeper and we had our CPA, but we didn't have anyone really looking at diving into the numbers. And knowing your numbers in your business is critical to helping you grow the business. So our fractional CFO has helped us in many ways, and from making sure that the plans that we offer to our customers are as profitable as they could be, making sure that our spending is done in a way that the company can continue to become profitable. When do we hire people? When do we need to let people go? When do we change out different systems that we're using? Are the tools we're using the right tools, and are the systems we have in place from an aspect of profitability the right systems to use? And so we meet on a regular basis and we talk through and we develop plans to help the business grow that we wouldn't have been able to do without their help.
Well, I'm really glad you brought that up, because I've talked to a number of different people on this podcast about how they kind of manage the cash flow, the financial planning as your business grows. And I mean, I've gotten answers all over the map from, well, when you start out, it's just like if there's any money left, then you're doing a good job, right? And on through to spreadsheets or different kind of ad hoc tracking, and a lot of the seat of the pants in the beginning. But so with this kind of fractional component, how would somebody go out and look for, find, evaluate somebody for this position?
Well, in my case, I found them through a business networking group I'm in. So one thing we have one thing that's been helping us find all these different partners that can help us and we can help them grow their business too, is by joining a local business networking or referral group. And you'll find through those groups you may meet a power partner, you may meet other business owners that have services that you need in your life, or that maybe you'll find someone that has a business that need your services, or you'll find companies that you can refer business to each other with. So joining a local business networking group in your area, whether that be something like a LaTip or the Chamber of Commerce or something else that might be unique in your area, is how I've been able to discover and grow these partnerships with other businesses that offer services complementary to us. One more thing I'd like to bring up in speaking of numbers is there's a book that I read that completely changed my mind shift on thinking about numbers in my business. And that book is called Profit First by Mike Michalowicz.
Yeah.
And after reading that book, before reading that book, for example, whenever the money that came into the business, I would just treat it as money that I could spend. And I wouldn't plan to save for taxes. I wouldn't plan to save for profit sharing. I wouldn't plan to save for expenses in the business. I wouldn't plan on saving and for money to pay myself. And at the end of the year, when that tax bill came and I didn't have the money to pay it, I was completely stressed out about where am I going to get the money to pay my taxes. After reading that book, I have a system in place now that sets aside money for each of those things, sets aside a certain amount of money for taxes, for business expenses, for profit. And you're taking your profit out of the business first. That's the key differentiator. Setting aside money that has come into the business in a profit savings account. Because at the end of the year, you look at your books and it says, the business has been profitable, but where is that money? You don't know. It's nowhere to be found. After you have a system in place that sets aside that money correctly, you're growing your business in a way that allows you to have that money set aside in the right way.
Jason, it was fantastic to have you on the show. I hope you hit your BHAG. I hope you just continue to grow, and looking forward to talking to you again.
Thanks, Rob. It was a pleasure to be here. Really enjoyed talking to you as well.
Take care.